Hey guys, today I want to share with you a quick tip on a way that I've been wearing my thermal imaging camera attached to my SCBA frame. This is something that one of the guys at our rescue company shared with me one day when I was working there, and it's been working well for me on a handful of fires lately. So let's head in and take a look how it works. So I was working at the rescue one day, and one of the firefighters there showed me how they had been carrying their thermal imager, and it's as simple as just taking this this locking carabiner and clipping it on the frame rail here. This is a MSA G1, works fine on here. Other brands of air packs you'd have to check, but this is how I've been wearing my air pack for the past couple of months. Run a bunch of fires with it, no problem so far. It's been working good for me. So let's take a look further, and I'll show you some pros and cons of this setup. So, as a responding chief officer, obviously one of the things I got to do that's different from guys on a fire truck is I got to get dressed once I get on scene. And I talk about that in some of the buggy tour videos that I've done, and we're going to do another one real soon, so let us know what you'd like to see there in the comments. But this is kind of where I would be in terms of turnout gear by the time I go put my air pack on. And you'll notice I still have my hood up. That's something I always do when I'm getting dressed, is I keep my hood up until the last minute, and then I put my hood down after everything is on. And that avoids me, you know, if I'd already pushed the hood down and then I put the air pack on. I've had it happen before where now half of my hood is stuck underneath the strap of an air pack. So I kind of just always leave my hood up while I'm getting dressed. But something I wanted to show you with the thermal imaging camera setup is that if you are in a situation like this where you're donning your SCBA, using kind of like the coat method, or where you're swinging it on your back, is you got to kind of be careful that when you swing the air pack on, that you don't get the thermal imaging camera caught on the neck of the bottle. I'm a big believer that setup is everything, and I'm really OCD about stuff. So this is pretty much how my air pack is going to be set up in the car every time, right? So I have my thermal imaging camera kind of tucked over here. You'll notice that I've oriented it so that this is all already in line. I have my waist straps preset because this is my air pack all the time. And then over here, I have my mask tucked in the corner, and it's set up so it's not going to get tangled up in the waist strap, right? So when I go to get dressed, it's as simple as I'm going to grab my mask, and instead of swinging this thing around my back, I'm basically just going to pull this onto my shoulder and then reach my arm around through, and there we are. And what that does is that prevents me from swinging this thing around, because if you swing this thing wildly when you get dressed, you can end up with this situation where it gets caught over here. But it doesn't have to be a big deal if that happens. Just know in your head that can happen. And if you reach over here and your thermal imager isn't there, well then reach over here and just pop it off, and there we go. So the last thing I'm going to don is going to be my box light. I just throw that over, and now this is all I got on the front of me. I got my box light, I got my mic, I got my access to my pockets. Of course, my mask would be on my face, but it keeps the front of me nice and clean, which I just like for mobility and being able to do my tasks without having a bunch of stuff dragging on everything. So let's go inside, and I'll show you a little bit more about exactly how I use the thermal imager itself. All right, so now I'm fully dressed out. You know, obviously this is the firehouse, not a real fire, but this is what I would be carrying with me. I do a lot of things on my gear setup based on the fact that I'm left-handed. So anything that requires, you know, more finer motor function, or I guess involves a more important thing, I'm going to put in my left hand, right? So I've prioritized my left hand for my primary tool, and I've selected to have my thermal imager on the right side. Of course, you could put the thermal imager on your left side if you wanted to also. But from a tactile perspective, you know, I don't need a lot of motor skill to be able to pick this up and move this around. So that, for me, that's great for my non-dominant hand, right? But so now I come to, say, a doorway or wherever I want to kind of check the conditions or whatever. You'll notice I don't have that camera dragging in front of me, right? So if I was down here, you know, sweeping the floor or something like that, I don't have anything dragging down in front of me. If this is a mattress or whatever, I like having my box light like this. This is one of the big reasons I wear a box light. And I like having it on top of my SCBA. The light is the last thing on top of me, so I can completely move this around. And this was something one of my mentors, Pete Lund, showed me one day was that when you wear a box light, you want to kind of have it choked up a little bit so that it's kind of like close to your armpit. The idea being that when I'm down like this, I should not have my box light strap so long that it's like laying flat on the ground, right? That I want it on top of my air pack at a length like this, so that as I come down and I'm doing that search, then my light kind of pivots directly in front of me and I can see what I'm working with, right? So that's all I got in front of me. Of course, my mask would be on my face. I got my light here. I got my microphone if I need to get on the radio or whatever. And then if I need my thermal imager, it's as easy as reaching back with my right hand and I can look ahead, I can look up, or do whatever thermal imager thing I need to do, and then I can get that back out of my way. I've also found this to be pretty good when I'm going in a window. More than one guy I know with the thermal imager on the front has gone through a window and ripped that thing off of their turnout gear because it just gets caught up going through the window. So again, just kind of having this light lean set up in the front, having this back here on that retractable lanyard, it's been working good for me so far. All right, so this is just an option. It might work well for you, it might not. Several of our members have talked about that this works well for them when they're in particular riding positions like the truck driver or OV, and other guys have said, hey, when I'm the engine officer, I'm gonna keep it up front. I think that there might be something to that, you know, based on your riding position or your function on the fire ground, having it in this position or another position might be the most functional. So if you haven't seen this before, hopefully this gives you a new idea to go out there and try. I would highly suggest you go try it on the bay floor and in a drill before you try and do it on a fire ground. Let us know in the comments what you think and what other tips you'd like to see.